Hi, Peggy. Here's number 1 on the homework with Joanne running for class president, and she has 20 flyers, and she has 16 buttons. What I want Lucas and everyone else in the class to see is that this is a case where they're grouping things because she wants each classroom to get the same thing without having anything else left over. So what they want to do for this, they have 2 options. One option, which I'm a huge fan is, and they've practiced this a lot, is that they start out as if there were one classroom. Usually here it ends up being like one bag, because this is usually a goodie bag situation, but it's like one classroom. So if there were one classroom, each classroom would get 20 flyers and 16 buttons. They've been really awesome about loving the idea of doubling and halving, so we're using that, what we know about finding all the factors, to do the same thing here. So instead now I could go to 2 classes, and we talk about what allows us to do that, and we say that because both of these numbers are even, I know I could get another group of 2 out of them. So now instead I double my classes, so I find half the number of stuff. So 10 flyers and 8 buttons. Again, these are even, so I know that I could actually go to 4 classes. And these 4 classes have, so again, I'm doubling the classes, so I'm finding half of the stuff. So now I'm going to have 5 flyers and 4 buttons. And now, because we've talked about this a bit, because 4 and 5 are relatively prime, their GCF is 1, that we're all done. So the most number of bags I could have is, I could have 4 classes, but it's also possible for me to put in 2 classrooms or 1 classroom also. The other way that we've been talking about this, like someone like John O really likes this way, is instead, forget about that, because he feels like that's too much. Instead, use the GCF. For me, I feel like for a lot of kids, this is not the way to go, because they have to then remember, when do I use GCF and LCM? Whereas if they remember from our class exercise, this is a time when I use goodie bags, like for some reason, this model of a bag like sticks with them, which I'm really psyched about. So, but if they want to, they can use GCF, or greatest common factor. They've seen this before. There's a video that I've shared with you on this. And they take the 2 numbers. They take the 20 and the 16, and they use what we call as upside down division. And they do this, and they ask themselves, what common factors do 20 and 16 have? And we know it's 2 because they're both even. And then we know that we're left with 10 and 8, because how many times does 2 go into 20, and how many times does 2 go into 16? Then we look at those 2 numbers, 10 and 8, which are the same numbers that they see over here. And we say we could put 2 into both of those. So we are left with 5 and 4. And we keep going until the number over here is 1. For us, that's our cue. We've been talking about that for the last bunch of weeks, that when we get to 1, we are done. So we like that part. And the GCF for us, and Lori can talk to you about this too, this is the GCF, are these numbers here. So the GCF is 2 times 2 times 1, or 4, which is the same thing. This 4 here is the same thing as the 4 classes. Let me walk you next through problem number 3 with Matthew going hiking. When Matthew goes hiking, he goes hiking every 6 days, so I'm going to put H as 6 days, and then he goes swimming every 8 days. What we're going to do is now we have a couple different ways to do this. So we know that this is a problem that I call a meet, when are we going to meet again? Or when is it going to happen again? That's the kind of problem that this is. So the 2 strategies we have are, we have a multiple list for this, or we have the LCM method. Most kids are in the multiple list, which is totally great. So we just write down all the times that Matthew's going to have this activity again. And we just write them. Kids say that they just write it for a while till they feel good, which is not really quantifiable, unfortunately, but they really are into it. So they start out with 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, etc. And then they take 8, and they do the same thing. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, and again goes on forever. And we find that the first time they overlap, that's our key thing, is 24. So we know 24 days from now, Matthew's going to do both swimming and hiking again. Some other kids really like doing this instead, where they say that they know they're looking for when they meet, so they're going to look at the LCM. They do upside down division again, and they do 2, because they're both even, and they're left with a 3 and a 4. They do the only number that goes into both of those is 1, so they're left with a 3 and a 4. And they've taken a quiz on this. They know this, that the L in LCM is also the same L here. So the LCM here would be 2 times 1 times 3 times 4, or 24. Again, same exact answer with the LCM as it is with the multiple list. Yeah, let me know if you want to talk about it more, but I hope this helps. Thanks, Peggy.